The thinking system that I'm about to show you will make chess easier and you won't be losing so many games. So watch the full video, ensure that you apply what I teach, and watch your ratings go through the roof. So the thinking system that we're going to be used, I mean, let's just play e5. It all starts in the opening stage of the game. The opponent attacks the pawn, and I'm going to be choosing the Petrov defense to do this. But all I'm going to be doing is trying to develop all my pieces as quickly as possible. Now, when he takes the pawn, we're going to be playing pawn d6, chase the knight. Knight had to move. We take on e4, and this is actually all theoretical stuff. Once they go knight c3, I'm just going to take on c3 here, and then again our plan is to develop our pieces as quickly as possible. So I'm going to start by playing bishop to e6 here. Bishop to d3 didn't really doing much. I mean, he's trying to develop. We're also going to be developing. The goal is to get the minor pieces out, get the king castled. Pawn to h5. Usually they want to put a piece on the g5 square. So let's just go pawn h6, preventing a piece from getting to g5. He develops his bishop. But remember, the goal is to develop. So we're also going to be developing our bishop. Now, once all the pieces are developed, it's a sign that you're now in the middle game. So he moves his queen. I'm also going to move my queen. Now, we're both going to decide where we want to castle the king. Now, when it comes to castling the king, try to have a look on the opponent's pieces to see where they're pointing. For example, if I castle on the king side, two bishops, the queen, the knight, the rooks, I'm going to be getting mated. So I'm going to choose to castle my king on the king side. Now, I could choose to castle, but I could also play this move bishop to f6 first. You know, it's just putting my bishop on the long diagonal. Now, we're no longer in the opening. We're now in the middle game because the pieces are developed. The king is about to get castled. So it's about to get a bit complex. But if you have any questions, ensure to ask in the comments. Pawn to h5. Let me just get my king out the center of the board first. And then once we're out of the opening and in the middle game, the goal is to start improving the activity of our pieces or decreasing the activity of the opponent's pieces. For example, a bishop is on my half of the board. We immediately play pawn to a6. This is called the principle of neutralization, just not allowing their pieces on our half. And even when he pulls the bishop back, I'm still going to play b5 because the bishop must go away. Now, you don't want to be pushing pawns on the side that your king is on, though, so you have to be very careful. So what I'm going to do, because this pawn on a6 is unprotected, I'm going to play king to b7 and, you know, just so that way it's guarded. Another thing that you guys need to keep in mind is you have to ensure that you understand pawn structures. For example, based on this structure, I have a very solid structure here. I mean, my pawns on the queen side is a bit overexerted, but his pawn on h5 is also weak. So if I'm able to trade the pieces off the board and get to an endgame, I should be able to target this pawn. So he moves the king to b1. Moves like those are usually good moves. I'm thinking bishop here to pin the knight. There's also knight e5 with the aim of just trading the knights off the board. My rook is the only piece that's not doing anything though. So let me just get that piece in the game. Now I could say all my pieces are in the game. Whenever all your pieces are in the game, it's going to be hard for you to blunder something. Bishop to d4 is interesting because he's voluntarily giving up the bishop for a knight. But hey, we're going to be taking that bishop. Assuming he's going to play knight takes d4 now, I don't want to give him my bishop. So I'm thinking of playing bishop to g4, but then he's going to play pawn to f3. And then I play bishop to g5. And then he's going to play queen to f2. And then I play bishop to e3. And then he moves the queen. And then I go back to f6. Doesn't really give me much, to be honest. Yeah, let me just trade. You know, like I think my bishop is better than the knight. My king though is definitely not the safest, so I have to be careful in terms of king safety. Well, let's just continue to improve the activity of our pieces. Let's go queen to f5, apply pressure on f2, protect the d5 square so that way if the queen comes up, we just trade. And any check that he gives with the knight, I'm actually going to play king to b6 and attack the knight because I'm not going to be getting checkmated there. Pawn to g4, I wasn't expecting. It is attacking my queen. Those pawn moves could come back. Wait, why is this not just a free pawn? Oh, he's trying to distract my queen from the d5 square. So if I take the free pawn, he checks my king. And then once the king move, he plays knight to a5, and then I'm going to be getting checkmated. But what if I take c-check and then I play king to b6? How am I getting checkmated there? Oh, but I mean, he's also able to take here. So let's just try to avoid all of that. And let's just play queen to f3. The pawn is still under attack. I'm still guarding myself against any checks. And I'm just trying to double up now on the e-file. I have to be fast, by the way, because whenever you play too slow in 10-minute games, you could lose on time. are not just losing on time, but just the pressure of not having enough time is just not a good feeling. So rookie one was played. He's putting his rooks on the file, still thinking of bishop to g5 just to hit the queen. And I'm not seeing a bunch of squares for the queen. If the queen goes there, I trade. If the queen goes here, I attack it. Yeah, let's go bishop g5. I didn't see every possible squares that the queen could go, but I know that that's a safe square. Oh, but it also attacks my pawn. I wanted to play c5 and attack the queen, but then he's just going to take my pawn unless I'm able to take on f2 and attack his rook on e1. But he decides to play queen to d3. So do we just trade? If I take, he's going to take with check. So let's just trade. I did undouble his pawns, so that's something. But again, his pawns are a bit weak. I'm going to play rook to e6 here. The plan is to double up the rooks on the e file. Knight d4 was very strong. Didn't see that move. Okay, let's go rook e5. I don't want to take and then give his rook the file, so I prefer for him to take and then I take. Knight f3 is also just very strong. No, I have to take, and then my bishop is under attack. So let's just pull the bishop back and then try to get the king in the game. This endgame is probably drawn, but I'm going to try to win it because I have the bishop, he has the knight, and the bishop is usually better than the knight in the endgame. The knight is now heading to e4, so let's play d5 to prevent that. The goal is usually to restrict the opponent's knight. Just see all the squares forward that the knight could move to, and then try to prevent it. Pawn to Pawn to d4 threatens to take. Pawn to d4. Yeah, let's go pawn to d4. That's an interesting move. If he takes, the rook takes, and I'm very active. If he doesn't take, then I takes. My bishop is a bit more active, but his knight is also a bit more active. Okay, let's play rook d6. I'm gonna play either rook c6 or e6. So knight e4. Okay, now I have to play rook c6. If rook e6, there's a check there. Takes, hit this pawn, assuming he's gonna push, takes, hit this. This is probably drawn, but in order to increase your ratings, you have to be willing to play these drawn endgames. It's probably drawn, but the opponent has to draw it, basically. V6 is just to ensure that my rook is not too passive. So the goal is to takes, rook takes, and then attack his pawn. And then he needs to put the rook on e4. But let's see. It's drawn, but he has to draw it. Okay, rook to e5. That's a good move. My plan from here is to try to attack his rook. Um, yeah, I mean, I have to get my king in the game. So let's just activate the king. Pawn to d4. I think pawn to g5 is interesting, and I don't want to allow him to be able to play pawn to g5. Now, if I takes and then he takes, I'm also not seeing what I have. So it's actually very tricky here. How do I make progress? Let's play g5. And he needs to find ways to attack my pawns. Luckily, all of them is guarding each other. Let's go king to... No, I should have played king to d7. What am I doing? Because my rook is now trapped. It just has no squares to move. But we're in the end game, and patience is very important in the end game. Let's go pawn c6. Pawn to a4. It's not a free pawn, by the way, because he's able to play rook to a5 and win it back. So I'm going to try king to c7. If he takes, then I'm going to take with the c pawn, which increases the risk of me losing, but it also increases the risk of me winning because I have a pass pawn. So now I just have to be very careful not to mess this up. Yup, that's what I expected. Him to start pushing the pawn. Now, if I push, he push, I takes, he takes. So that may not work. So let me just play the move king to b6, just being patient as usual. Now I'm going to try to just roll my pawn as far as it can go. This pawn is not able to move. He's able to move the rook, but doesn't really do much. So he moves the rook. Oh, that's his plan actually. If he manages to play king d5, my rook is going to be trapped, so I have to be careful. So king c5, king c5, king d5, rook d6. Yeah, let's try that. King c5. If he checks, then I just go back. Checks. Okay, or maybe go here. No, can't go there. Let's go here. Hit the rook. And then he wants to draw. I don't want to draw though. So I go here, he goes here. No, can't even go there. I go here, he goes here, I go here. He goes here. If I go here, the king attacks the rook. I move the rook, he takes a pawn, then I push this pawn. Yeah, that's losing though. I think it's just drawn. If I go here, he attacks the rook, I move, he takes the pawn, I push, I push, he moves the rook. I I'm just gonna try it. Let's try. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm gonna try it. Just gonna try it. So king back, so rook back, and then just push the pawn up the board. Not only am I down by a pawn, but oh, now he's able to check. And if okay, he pushes though. Okay, let's keep pushing the pawn. Pass pawns, we have to push them. What I'm seeing is it's gonna take his rook a few moves to get around the back. Think he needs to move his king, move his rook, then pull back. That's one, two, three moves. And then I have three moves to queen. So move the king, I push, move the rook, I push, pull back the rook. Damn, he's right in time. Wait, he plays there though. Okay, let's keep pushing. Then he attacks my rook. And if I push, what if I just don't move the rook? I push, he takes the rook, I queen. I have a queen on the board. Wait, can I just be patient about it though? Can I play rook to a8? Yeah, let's play rook to a8. Let's be patient. If he pushes, I pushes. If he queen, I sack, then I push. And I have no problems. So he pushes, I push. If he push, I sack, then I queen. If he checks, I go back to b7. So that way he's not able to play rook a6. See, I tell you, in order to win these games, your end game has to be good, and you have to be willing to play end games that seems to be drawn, and you have to just keep playing them. So rook to f8 is a good try. If I takes, he takes, I queen, he queen. But now I'm just gonna be pinning his pawn. So once I pin the pawn, it means the pawn is just not able to move. I'm queening next move, by the way. I'm queening next move, guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, because if he checks, I have to play. Okay, he checks there. Okay, that really doesn't matter, but I think he wants to play rook to a6, and then if I take the rook, he queens, and then I queen. That's gonna be a problem. If I go here, what if I go here? Yup, that's the move. That's the move. He moves the king. Now we sack, then we queen, and we're winning. Now let's just win this with 40 seconds on the clock. I have another pass pawn to roll up the board. Okay, let's give a check. Grab this pawn. Let's grab. He pushes. Let's take, and then he pushed. Damn, did I mess this up? How am I gonna prevent that pawn from queening though? This is weird. Damn, man, I think I messed it up, man. Oh, he blundered. That's a checkmate, sir. Okay, this guy is 2567. He's more than 100 points higher than me. He's playing the French defense. Let's play the advanced variation of the French defense. This is what I like to play. Let's just develop our pieces normally, to be honest. Bishop e2, castle the king. I mean, bishop to d3 is also a move, but I like to play both of them. Okay, 97. Let me just get the king out the center of the board. Okay, he decides to take. Let's just take back, and then after knight to f5, I'm just going to play knight c3. Yeah, this is all regular development. Queen to b6 runs into knight a4, by the way. How do I continue this? Pawn to a6, not sure what he's trying to prevent. Maybe knight a5, queen a7 to keep the pressure on my d4 pawn. I think I have to play bishop to e3. It's not a move that I want to play, to be honest, but I'm not seeing any way to defend my pawn on d4. And queen to b6 is very scary. If he plays queen b6, now there's queen d2. Bishop e7, he may want to just castle his king. Let me go rook to c1. It's very important that we play with all our pieces. He finally decides to castle his king. Now I'm going to play queen d2 just to connect my rooks. f6, I was also expecting. But usually when they play f6, we should take on f6. But if I take on f6, the bishop attacks d4. If he takes, my knight takes, then the pawn takes. That's not losing. I'm also thinking of bishop to d3, by the way, just to get rid of this annoying knight. Actually, let's do that. Yeah, let's get rid of this annoying knight. It's also a threat because I'm also threatening to take the knight and then take on d5. But I have to play fast. He has 40 seconds more than me. That's not bad though. So he took the pawn. If I take, he plays rook takes. I takes, I takes, rook takes. That doesn't work. If I play pawn to d4 is a 4. Takes. So let's play knight takes. Yeah, let's go knight takes then. Oh, but then he takes, pawn d. So if I takes pawn d4, so I have to take on f5 first, which is just horrible. Now he has knight c5, and I'm just losing. Damn, damn. My bishop is hanging, my queen is hanging. So now I have to sacrifice my bishop and then just give a check. Damn. Okay, let's go b3, hit the knight. This is crazy. Where did I even go wrong? Okay, knight back to d3. This is losing. I'm just down by a piece. There's no coming back from this. Okay, let's get the rook in the game. Let's see if there's anything at all I can do. So bishop f6. Let's go bishop f4. Hit the unprotected knight. Knight f5. He's attacking the pawn again. I'm gonna just pull the knight back and guard it. Okay, now he plays bishop to b5. All right, let's see. Okay, once I move my queen, he's gonna take the knight and then take on d4, and everything is just losing. Yeah, I resign. This is crazy. Good game, bro. Good game. All right, this guy's 23-30. Let's take out our revenge. Now I'm 100 points higher than him. So e5, let's hit the pawn. Okay, he's playing the Philidor defense. Hmm. Let's play d4. Let's immediately attack the center. Take with the knight. It should be very easy for us to develop our pieces from here. Let's go knight c3, guard the pawn. He's trying to castle his king. Okay, now I'm going to go bishop to e2 and castle. Bishop c4 was also fine. Knight c6. Let's get the king out the center of the board. I'm just trying to finish development as quickly as possible. He castle, I develop my bishop. Now, I've successfully took out all my minor pieces. He plays rook to e8, which is very strong. He wants to start applying some pressure to e4. I'm thinking of taking on c6, doubling up his pawns. Yeah, let's do that. Shouldn't be comfortable for him to play with doubled pawns. Now I'll play rook to e1 just to bring more pieces in the game. Bishop to f8 by him would be a very nice move. Okay, but then he plays g6. I guess he wants to go bishop f8, then bishop g7, which is not a bad maneuver, by the way. Okay, what's my plan here, though? That's the thing. And how am I going to even win this game? Okay, I have an idea. Bishop to d4. Put my bishop on this diagonal. It's a nice diagonal. If he plays pawn to c5, I'm going to be forced to pull my bishop back, but then he's going to be weakening the d5 square. So that's my idea. He still decides to pull the bishop back. Now he has two pieces attacking e4. It doesn't work that well. Maybe it does. Queen d2, pawn c5 takes, queen takes. Yeah, let's just go queen d2. I have to be very active. If he pushes if he takes on e4, it's actually weird. Yeah. What am I doing? What I saw was if I takes, rook takes, bishop f3, and I win the c6 pawn. But then he's able to take on e1 and then protect the pawn. But it's not completely dead loss because I have very good development. So all I need to do is to not trade a lot of pieces off the board and I should be fine. But I'm not seeing how am I gonna win this though. That's the thing. 'Cause even if I magically get my bishop b3, bishop g7 doesn't work. Okay, let's go queen c3 and control this diagonal. Preventing bishop g7, preparing some bishop f6 hits the queen, especially if he plays c5, bishop f6 is winning. If he plays rook to b8, I was just about to say that's a free pawn. But then he goes back to a8, and then if I go back to d4, he takes on a2. So first I'm going to play pawn to a3. But then he plays pawn to c5. Let's hit the queen. I'm down by a pawn, by the way, so I do not like what's happening. But I'm going to attack him. I'm going to attack him. He moves the queen. Let's go pawn h4. This is me starting an attack. Generally, you don't want to be pushing pawns on the side that your king is on, by the way. But there's no way for him to attack my king. Like, his king is the only king that is able to get attacked here. Like, his plan is to trade pieces off the board. Pawn to h5 is pushing pawns on the side that his king is on. Immediately, I'm thinking about sacrificing on h5. It doesn't work though, because I need to be able to immediately play queen to g5 if I'm going to do that sacrifice. And if I move my queen, he moves his bishop, and I don't want to trade. And if I put my bishop here, he puts his bishop here. Okay, I'm fine with that. Let's put the bishop on the same line as the king. If he puts the bishop, okay, that's also a nice move. Also a nice move. Okay, bishop to e4. Bishop, let's say I just pull the bishop back and he plays d5. That just that just doesn't help me in any way. I need my bishop on these diagonals. Okay, let's go back to e4. I'm going to still allow him to play d5 because I'm trying to induce some weaknesses in his position. Like usually when you can force the opponent to move their pawns forward, it's going to be leaving weaknesses behind. But I'm not doing this because I think that I'm winning. I'm doing this because I'm down by a pawn. And if I do not complicate the game, then I'm going to lose. So now he plays bishop to e6. Now let's go queen to e5 with the threat of sacking. Now my queen gets the e5 square. Before that was not possible. Now I'm threatening to take stakes, check king up, check king back, mate on h8. And that would be crazy. The good thing is, there's no immediate way for him to attack my queen. Rook to b7, now I'm just going to take. I'm not assuming he's going to take back because of the check. But if there's still nothing there, I just got back my pawn. And if I got back my pawn and I continue to attack him, then it just means I'm winning. Okay, queen to b8. Queen to b8 is something slightly annoying because I'm not trying to trade queens. Or queen to c7, still not trying to trade queens. Because I'm not trying to trade queens, because I think I have an attack, but am I able to win a pawn though? Takes, sack my bishop on g6. So queen c7, takes, sack the bishop, takes, rook e6, king f7, and I'm losing. Okay, let's not trade. Let's go queen g. Let's do it still. Let's go queen g6. I'm trying to sack on g6, but the guy has that move. So if I takes, there's pawn takes. Oh, I don't know if this works, but it looks fancy. Let's just put the rook on e8. Let's just pin him, to be honest. The bishop is now pinned, so there's new ideas in the position. I'm not really seeing it, but the fact that the bishop is pinned means I can apply pressure to the pinned bishop. So queen h6 is actually a threat. Queen to d7 is actually a trick, but then I'm going to play rook to d8, hit the queen, force the queen to mate, then queen to h6 is going to be winning. Is this winning, though? Is this winning? I think it's winning. Wait, no, king h7, I grab the bishop and then mate on h8. Okay, rook back to c8 is a good move. I didn't see that one. What do I have now? Whoa! Forcing moves. This is how you play chess. Look for forcing moves like check. What if we sack the rook? Sack the rook if he takes with the rook, queen h6 force mate. Sack the rook if he takes with the king, check. King here. What if he goes king here? Down. Takes. Oh, down. Check, king over. Wait. Takes, check, king over. Check, king up, and I'm just lost. Mm. Oh, I am so strong. I almost missed the move. Let me show you how strong I am. So obviously we need to look on the forcing move, but it doesn't work. But what if we still play queen to h6? If I still play queen to h6, the bishop on f8 is pinned, sacrificing the rook. But if he takes my rook, queen to h8 is a checkmate. And I'm not only threatening some mating ideas here, queen h8 is just going to be a mate that he's not able to defend. Queen h6, and my opponent will resign here. He resigns. Good game.